Imagine this, a West African nation long caught in the grip of conflict, isolation, and external pressure, suddenly signs a nuclear energy deal, not with the West, but with Moscow. The world watches, eyebrows raised. What does this mean for Africa's future?
This is the journey to one Africa. Hey guys, as you're watching this video, our vision is to reach 500,000 subscribers. Hit the subscribe button, join membership to support our channel, join Patreon and PayPal. All the links are in the description. Do that to stand with us for this beautiful cause of One Africa right now. We do not forget to sign up for the petition. The link is down below. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
In June 2025, Mali's transitional leader, Colonel Assimi Goïta, arrived in Moscow on a 5-day official visit. But this wasn't just another diplomatic handshake. It was a strategic move that resulted in a landmark agreement with Russian President Vladimir Putin, a deal on the peaceful use of nuclear energy. For a country battling jihadist insurgents, under sanctions, and isolated by Western powers, this deal signals more than economic ambition. It's a geopolitical statement. And it comes at a time when Russia's grip in Africa is tightening, just as France and other Western nations withdraw. Could this be the beginning of a new age of influence, energy politics, and military entrenchment in Africa? Or is Mali simply seeking survival in a fractured world order? What happens when a West African country at war turns away from the West and toward Moscow? And why is nuclear energy now part of the conversation? On a chilly June morning in Moscow, a motorcade sliced through the city, headed toward the Kremlin. Inside was Mali's transitional president, Colonel Assimi Goïta, once a quiet officer, now a symbol of defiance in West Africa. This was no ordinary state visit. It was a moment that symbolized a dramatic geopolitical shift. Mali, a nation besieged by jihadist violence and cut off by former Western allies, is turning to Russia, not just for arms and soldiers, but for something even more ambitious: nuclear power. On June 21, 2025, during his official 5-day visit to Russia, Goïta met with President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders emerged from their private discussions with several new agreements in hand. The most striking? A cooperation deal for the peaceful use of nuclear energy. This wasn't just about electricity. It was a signal to the world that Mali, under Goïta's leadership, is looking to rewrite its destiny. One where its future is powered not by foreign debt and dependency, but by strategic autonomy. "We have good cooperation with the Russian Federation," Goïta said calmly, speaking to journalists outside the ornate Kremlin chamber. All of this demonstrates the effectiveness and trust between our countries. But what does nuclear energy mean for a country like Mali, where electricity shortages and insecurity coexist? And what's Russia really after? To understand this alliance, we need to go back. After a series of coups in 2020 and 2021, Mali began cutting ties with traditional Western partners, France, the United States, the European Union, citing disrespect for its sovereignty. In their place came Russia's Wagner Group, a paramilitary force known as much for brutality as for battlefield gains. Wagner's time in Mali was controversial. Though credited with pushing back rebels in parts of the north, the group was also accused of widespread human rights violations. Then, in 2023, a mutiny and the suspicious death of Wagner's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, shook the foundation of Russia's mercenary strategy. Now Wagner is gone, replaced by the Kremlin's newly formed Africa Corps, a rebranded state-controlled force meant to retain and expand Russian military influence across the continent. The switch was seamless. Russia made it clear that their commitment was long-term. And now, it's not just about war, it's about energy, trade, infrastructure, and diplomacy. During the summit, the two leaders signed another key agreement: the creation of an intergovernmental Russia-Mali Commission for trade, economic, scientific, and technical cooperation. "Our trade numbers remain modest," Putin admitted, "but they are showing a positive trend." He went on to cite geological exploration, natural resource development, logistics, and humanitarian projects as key areas for future investment. Why does this matter? Because this isn't just about Mali. It's about a vacuum in the Sahel, left behind by Western disengagement, now being filled by Russia, and to a lesser extent, China. There is a void in the Sahel left by the departure of Western states, especially by the French and Americans, said Rita Liamuri, a Sahel analyst. For Russia, this is an opportunity that cost them almost nothing. As diplomats exchanged smiles in Moscow, the situation back home was grim. Just days before Goita's trip, the Al-Qaeda-linked group JNIM killed dozens of Malian soldiers in a base attack. Militant threats persist, and armed groups continue to inflict casualties, even on the Russian operatives sent to fight them. In northern Mali last year, dozens of Wagner mercenaries were reportedly killed. And even with the Africa Corps in place, insurgent attacks haven't slowed. So the question remains, can military cooperation and nuclear ambitions coexist in a country still fighting for its internal stability? A nuclear future? For Mali, the nuclear agreement is unprecedented. The exact details haven't been disclosed, but such deals typically include training, research, and possibly the construction of small modular reactors. Long-term infrastructure that takes years to build, but offers reliable energy. So why is Russia offering all this? The answer is simple: influence. Moscow has found in Africa a willing partner, eager for alternatives to the West. And in Mali, it sees a gateway, not just to the Sahel, but to natural resources, international prestige, and new geopolitical alliances. Meanwhile, African leaders like Goita are using these partnerships to assert independence, gain strategic support, and shift the balance of global power. Mali's alliance with Russia and its venture into nuclear energy is more than a bilateral handshake. It's a declaration that the world's centers of power are shifting, that African countries are choosing new partners, that former colonies are seeking sovereignty not just in word, but in infrastructure, technology, and ideology. But will these bold moves bring peace and prosperity, or deepen dependency in new ways? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: the Sahel is no longer just a battlefield, it's a chessboard, and the pieces are moving fast. But Mali isn't the only one making bold moves. Just weeks before Assimi Goita's Moscow visit, Burkina Faso quietly signed its own nuclear cooperation deal with Russia. Under Captain Ibrahim Traore's leadership, the landlocked nation, long overlooked by global powers, has now emerged at the heart of a high-stakes pivot to Moscow. So now we must ask, why are two of West Africa's most turbulent countries investing in nuclear energy? And is this really just about electricity, or is something much bigger brewing in the Sahel? A brotherhood forged in struggle. Burkina Faso and Mali, along with Niger, have formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a regional military and political coalition born out of shared rebellion against neo-colonialism and what they view as Western betrayal. All three have expelled French troops, suspended cooperation with the West, and turned instead to Russia, a partner promising sovereignty, respect, and now atomic collaboration. When Burkina Faso signed its deal with Russia's state-owned nuclear agency, Rosatom, the official language was identical to Mali's, for peaceful purposes. But in geopolitical chess, words often carry hidden meanings. Could peaceful mean strategic deterrence? Could small nuclear reactors also fuel military ambitions? Currently, no African country possesses nuclear weapons. South Africa was the only one to ever develop them, and voluntarily dismantled its arsenal in the 1990s after the fall of apartheid. But now, as global alliances shift, energy crises deepen, and Western influence wanes, African nations are reevaluating their power, literally and figuratively. A nuclear program, even for energy, brings advanced scientific research, high-level technology transfers, strategic leverage in international negotiations, and yes, the knowledge infrastructure to one day, if desired, develop weapons. So again, we must ask, what happens when sovereign African states, tired of centuries of manipulation, gain access to the world's most powerful technology? For Traore and Goita, this isn't just science, it's sovereignty in a reactor core. Let's not forget, the Sahel is a war zone. Militant groups like JNIM and Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, ISGS, have overrun vast areas, killing civilians, toppling outposts, and ambushing soldiers. Western militaries pulled out, France left, the US is scaling down, and now the Sahel nations, on their own but not alone, are turning eastward. Could these nuclear deals be part of a grander strategic doctrine? Could the Sahel Alliance be building deterrence not only against insurgents, but foreign interference? Trying to rewrite the rules of African security through hard power, not just diplomacy, or simply betting on technology to fuel industrialization and break free from economic dependency. This rising nuclear interest isn't just about Burkina Faso and Mali. It sends ripples across the continent. Other countries are watching. Sudan and Uganda have expressed interest in nuclear reactors. Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, has plans on paper. Egypt, already advanced in energy, signed its own deal with Russia for the El Dabaa nuclear plant. The message is clear. Africa no longer wants to be a consumer of global energy. It wants to be a producer of power, in every sense of the word. So ask yourself, could this be the beginning of an African atomic era? And will it bring enlightenment or escalation? A turning point for the continent. The West often claims that Africa is not ready for nuclear energy. But the real question may be, is the world ready for an Africa that is? Russia seems to believe so, and the Sahel states are answering the call. Whether these nuclear collaborations lead to electricity for all or a new Cold War in the desert remains uncertain. But what's undeniable is this. The tectonic plates of power are shifting, and Africa, particularly the Sahel, is now a central fault line. From the ruins of colonialism, coups, and insurgencies, a new alliance is rising, powered by uranium, ambition, and the politics of trust. And the world is watching.